Mad Monday mutants and munters, welcome back into the Mad Monday podcast. Thanks to the legends at 4 and 20 pies. My name is Tino Whaasua Manaia, and I'm joined remotely by Tohu Hurley. Good morning, Hurley. How's it all going, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you, and thank you for naming me after a recently retired player.
Washed. Full disclosure from the start here, I was a late ring-in for Dai. I actually haven't seen much of the league across the weekend. Only highlights and anything I could sneak in during the wedding I was at across the weekend down in Martinborough. My role on the night was, as the speeches were going, the Warriors game was on. And so I just had the updates, and I had to give updates in between each speech. So best man gets up, he does a speech, then they pass me the microphone. We're up 10-0. Someone else does a speech, give me the microphone back, 14-0. Give me the microphone back again, 14-10. What the fuck is going on? All of a sudden we're tied up, and right as the speeches wrapped up, 15-14. It was tense to watch numbers go up on a screen. What was it like watching in real time, not knowing if we were going to win that or not?
Well, look, can I, full disclosure from my angle as well, and I'm doing my South Island comedy tour at the moment, and I went on stage at 14-0 half-time and then got off stage with about a minute and a half to go, and it was 15-14. I have gone back and watched that second half, and I'm really glad that I got to watch it knowing the result, because look, now, Warriors fans may know this, but the only team with a better winning record over the Warriors than the St. George Illawarra Dragons is the Melbourne Storm. So they are our absolute bogey team. And the Storm are a very good team every single year. Yeah. You could not say that about the Dragons, but they have the wood over us. So to get an ugly win, and it was that, we can just be happy for that.
Yeah, and it's the same thing I've been talking about for the last few weeks, is that we have an identity, and it is winning ugly, winning scrappy shit fight games by 1 point. And I think this was the best example of that, because there was still 10 minutes on the clock when Metcalf kicked that goal. You know, other teams would have kept trying to knock on the door, but I think we knew, like, have a hoon now. Look, if you miss, you get another 10 minutes to have a crack. But have a hoon, if you get it, let's just back our defense, because that's what we've hung our hat on all season, and that's exactly how it played out. It was gritty.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a fairly accurate one, which is, you know, winning teams win with good defense, and that's what we're doing. The drop goal thing was fantastic timing, really. And if you watched, I mean, I don't want to, no spoilers, but the Stonka of the round, which we have coming up, there were some of the ugliest drop kick attempts by the Cowboys, who just left it all too late. Yeah. So, yeah, and you know, the Warriors have definitely been guilty of that in the past, for trying to just score that last-minute clutch try, and it has happened on a number of occasions. But now we have a far more steady head, a far more conservative head in Luke Metcalf.
Yeah, and you could be forgiven for calling it boring. It's not, when you're riding and dying by every single up and down as a Warriors fan. I've listened to a few of the other rugby league podcasts out of Australia over the weekend, and they've all glossed over this game and said that it was boring. It was a bit of a shitter. Not if you're a Warriors fan, it's not. No, that's tense as fuck. It doesn't get much better than that. I would liken it, if I could use an analogy, Stephen Donald, when he kicked the World Cup winning penalty, I think there was still like half an hour left in that game. It's been remembered by history as a game-winning kick, but actually what happened was they had to defend their asses off and not let in another point for a long amount of time. And if anything, that's probably the more miraculous thing than him being able to kick that goal, is him coming in the worst shape of his professional career and being able to hold out for a win. And that's exactly what the Warriors did this week. What I love the most about it is that the Australian commentators now, it was like, shit, this is a gutsy performance from the Warriors, and now it's like, oh, they're a better team than whoever they're coming up against. They're giving us actual, you know, respect as a God's honest top 4 team, whereas I felt like for the first sort of 6 weeks, they're like, yeah, they're in the top 4, but Warriors fans take a screenshot because they won't be down the track. And now it's like, no, they're genuinely better than the other teams that are below them. The stat that keeps getting tossed around is the Warriors' best start ever, and I think it's up there with 2002, and I think it's just better than 2018.
Look, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but they say that love happens when you least expect it, right? And I think a Warriors win is going to happen when you least expect it. And I don't think at the start of this year anybody thought that the Warriors would be a top 4 side.
No,
I think even in quite recent years, there's been massive raps. Look at our team on paper, etc., etc. And this year, we've got a number 7 playing out of position potentially. No Sean Johnson. It's a lot of options in the halves, but no real stars.
Yeah,
but something's working, and it's we've been hit by Cupid's arrow.
Yeah, and it's like every week I feel like I come on here and say that people could look at these games and say, in isolation, each of these games you could call a fluke. You could say, oh yeah, it was a few weeks ago there was a Chanel Harris-Tavita chip and chase, and then there was the Metcalf 50-meter penalty in extra time. There's all this in isolation. Each one of those, yes, that was a fluke victory, but when you start stacking those up, I think there was a quote coming out from Chans this week who was saying, like, we're winning gritty, and that it means so much to us because come finals footy, that's how you're going to have to win. And I think that is exactly what's so good about this Warriors team. I think when you think of a Warriors team humming, you think they're putting on 40 points, but they're letting 30 in. Rasley, 100-meter tries and stuff. And then now all of a sudden we've had to get used to this gritty defensive team, which doesn't show up in the highlight reels, who just scrape out wins.
Well, so much so that our points differentiation is +1.
Yeah.
Now, after 10 rounds of rugby league, that is amazing. I mean, it was 0 the week before, and now it's +1. So that, if nothing else says that we are scraping out ugly but close wins, it is all there in black and white. But look, we do have some big tests coming. We've got the Mercurial Dolphins this weekend. And then after that, a rematch from the Vegas disaster against the Raiders, the high-flying Raiders. Then we've got the Rabbitohs at home. That's a game we should win. And then we've got the Sharks at home. That's a touch and go. Sharks up and down. So, yeah, it's 4 games, and I think the level goes up a notch.
Yeah, and then we come across the Panthers one, who they are playing like shit, and then they have to go, and all of their players will still be in Origin. They play in Perth, and then they come back and play us at Mount Smart Stadium. It's an 8-hour flight all up. So circle that one. Circle that one as a win. I've just dug up a stat from Random Stats Guy, and by dug up I mean I just looked his Instagram up. Lowest points difference in the top 4 after round 10. How's that for a stat? This is what you were just talking about before. In 2000, the West Tigers were in second on -28 points. That was second. Canterbury did it in 2001. Gold Coast in 2010 were on 0, and then us in second place with a points diff of +1. So obviously each of those teams have been smacked at some point and then have eked out a couple of gritty wins.
Now, can I just say, just sort of final thoughts on this game, but I don't want to point fingers at a single player, and he has been out the entire season so far, and so he just had a few coats of rust on him, and that is Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, who had a bit of a shocking defensive game, and I think if he, I'm sure he'll be, 100% better this week. And 100% better the next week, but I have a feeling that his edge they targeted after a while, realizing he was making some bad defensive reads, and so it was probably closer than it was, just based on the fact that one of our star wingers had a bit of rust.
Had a bit of rust, and he'll come right. We were talking about we were talking about Dallin jamming last year, and I was thinking, why wouldn't you, if you're Webby, just say, look, Dal, whatever happens, man, if they score a try one-on-one against the centre inside you, that's not on you. Don't leave your wing. Whatever else happens, just stay there. If we lose the game because you didn't help whoever your centre is out, fine. But we don't want to lose the game because you did that. I mean, I don't know enough. That's probably a question for Webby, but I don't know. It seems to be something that's happening quite often. But like you say, the rust will come off and he'll be right. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with the stonker of the round. All right, the stonker of the round, it was a draw. It doesn't get any closer than 30 all. Cows versus Panthers. And I didn't see it, but you described it to me off here. The shit show of a penalty dropout, shootout. It can just, I love Golden Point. I love, teams trying to win it that are drawn in regulation just by snapping off droppies. It can be shit, though, sometimes, can't it? Is that what happened here?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you've got one of the best in the business in that game, and Nathan Cleary, who should have iced that game. But there was a couple of absolute brain explosions a couple of times during those final moments, and he didn't get his drop kick away. The Cowboys don't have somebody who can drop a goal. I think Scott Drinkwater is the best
default
of them.
Yeah.
But he's a left-footed kicker, and he seemed to always be on the wrong side, or the ball would go the wrong way. That said, he had an amazing game, Scott Drinkwater. He is an immense talent, even though he looks like a bully from an 80s comedy film.
He does it.
Yeah, he
You've
does.
nailed that. Yeah.
So the Cows were down by 12 twice in that game and came back, and they are, I've used the term mercurial to describe the Dolphins. I would say that you could describe the Cows like that as well. In fact, they kind of reminded me of previous year's Warriors because, not only can they score long-range tries, they can't kick drop goals.
They can't defend themselves for shit. I can't remember who I was talking to about this. I think it might have even been Di. Someone was talking about the fact that league players don't grow up. I think it was my father, actually. League players don't grow up kicking drop goals. Like, every rugby union practice ends with a bunch of meatheads lined up at the halfway line just trying to snap off a fluke drop goal from halfway. But you're constantly doing it. Whereas I feel like it's a combination of the fact that it's only worth 1 point in league. Steeden doesn't fly quite like the Gilbert does. And so the combination of all of those things, most teams only have about one or two dudes that can do it. And often it falls to a fullback who actually can't do it, but is otherwise the most talented guy in the team. And everyone else is like, fuck, I don't know, is it you?
And I think a good example of that is Latrell Mitchell nailing one from a different postcode in that game, a 2-point drop goal, which was just the cleanest strike of a Steeden I think I've ever seen.
It was sick. I want to talk about Latrell in a sec, but just quickly before we do, on the stonker of the round, did you see the clip of the Panthers trainer wetting the ball before the kickoff?
Yeah, I did, and I don't really understand why. Like, what's the advantage there?
So they're about to kick off to start off extra time, and so as he's walking up, he thought no one could see him, and it makes me wonder how often this is happening, and he just sprayed the ball down with water, gave it to Dylan Edwards to kick off, and so, in theory, it's soaking wet when the other team catches it. Chances are they drop it or knock it on off the kickoff. They didn't. So, but I don't know. Is that a dog act?
It is a weak gutted dog act, and that's probably something that we need to discuss as well in that phrase.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it should be a penalty if the trainer touches the ball. There's no reason that the trainer should be touching the ball. It's one of the first things when dudes watch a game of league that haven't watched league in a long time is
trainers on the field.
Trainers on the field. What is this guy doing? So yeah, I don't know. Do you reckon the NRL will crack down on it like they have with the head eyes?
Yes, possibly. It's interesting. What will Alfie Langer do? Or is he actually... I always I always associate him with being a trainer, but he probably retired some time ago. But he was the most omnipresent trainer on the field that I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess because he's recognisable as well.
It's a Where's Wally moment whenever he's out there.
Yeah.
Him, and I have more memories of John Sutton running the water for the Rabbitohs than I do of him playing for the Rabbitohs. Because he's just always out there. Anytime you got a man out there in high vis and a neck tat, you're like, Jesus, somewhere there's a lollipop there not being turned at an intersection.
But yeah, it is a dog act, and the Panthers, it just smacks a bit of desperation. The great Panthers, 4 in a row, sitting at the bottom of the ladder.
No memory of them doing that the last 4 years. I'll say that for nothing.
Yeah.
Speaking of dog acts, so we talked about Latrell. He snapped off that monster drop goal. That was sick. But as memorable as that is, at the end of the game, he took a knee and basically surrendered himself with time up on the clock. They played the ball basically on the line of the Broncos. He gave himself up, took a knee, and so everyone stood up, hands on hips, and said, yes, sweet, he's just going to let the game run out here. He sees that, bursts through the line and dots down, and then carries on to Lux after he scored the try as well. Where do you stand on that? Is it play on because the game's still going, play to the final whistle, or is that a dog act because they'd surrendered?
Look, I don't know that I have a strong opinion on it, but I'm just amazed at how Latrell Mitchell can always court some sort of attention. It's incredible. Like, talk about X Factor. I mean, what was Steve Hanson's famous quote about? We talked a lot about rugby union in this podcast today. About Sonny Bill. He's like a dropped pie.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Attracts all the flies. Yeah,
yeah. Latrell Mitchell is a dropped quiche, like a family size quiche.
Yeah, well, he's almost like a roadkill hedgehog. you know, there's that many flies on him.
Yeah, that's a better analogy, particularly for rugby league. Yeah,
there's a hawk on him. You're going to hit it when you come around the corner. It just gets away at the last second. Because he also, in that same game, had like 2 try-saving tackles. One of them showed might have even been Drinkwater, showed someone the sideline and then dragged them into touch. It was just one of the most ridiculous, like, all-round displays of rugby league greatness. If I've said this a lot about Latrell, if and when they bring out the new game, which I think next year they're going to bring out the PlayStation game, he's my first pick. If I'm building a franchise on the video game, it's him because you can play him anywhere. He's got every skill you need.
Yeah, he's the Jonah Lomu of Jonah Lomu Rugby, isn't he?
It should be Latrell Mitchell Rugby League.
Yeah, no, and by the way, now that I look at him, like every single time I see him, he looks more and more like Greg Inglis.
Yeah, he's got the haircut now. He's got the low fade, but he's otherwise keeping it quite tight around the top.
Yeah, and a bit of gruff on his face, and he's just kind of filling out his shoulders as well.
Yeah,
so he's got that Inglis build. I mean, he doesn't. He has a bit more of a belly than Greg Inglis ever had.
The jersey helps though too. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. I think so. And like any time he touches the ball, you're like, he is probably going to score a try here, score some sort of points. I don't think anyone. I think it's the way he struck that drop goal. I don't think anyone thought he was actually going for it because he just walked into the line at first receiver. He wasn't deep. He wasn't that deep off to play the ball. I don't even think he knew he was going to kick that. I just think he looked up and he was just like, well, if you're going to hang off me like that, fuck yous. And fuck them, he did. All right, just before we take another quick break, it's time for the TAB hunch. Odds not out on the try-scoring markets, but I've got to be honest, I've seen the Warriors 1-12 at $3. Do we just lock that in every week for the rest of the season? Like, the Warriors aren't going to hump teams by 13 plus. Do we just go 1-12, ride that into the rocks? Surely that makes us money over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we only just scraped past the Tigers, and then this week they lost 64-0 to the Storm. So, I think we might be that team this year.
I think every week. In fact, clip that, Joe, and just replay that every week for our TAV hunch on the Mad Monday podcast. Warriors 1-12. Stop me if you've heard this one. All right, we'll take another quick break. We'll come back with a little bit of SuperCoach chat. All right, Hurley, how is your SuperCoach team travelling this season?
Okay, so I started really, really well. And I think I was in our Mad Monday sort of commentators league. I was second. And I just had 2 shocking weeks in a row. And I've just realised I have a very solid team, but not a spectacular team. And I don't really know how to get out of that. But the best buy I've done, best trade I've made probably in the last few weeks was I had the hammer at fullback. I sold him. I bought Scott Drinkwater, who tons up almost every single week.
I saw that because these last 2 weeks have been ridiculous for scores. Like everyone's having their highest score ever in SuperCoach. I mean players, and I also mean coaches, SuperCoaches.
Yes.
And then you look down and you're like, someone will just randomly, like Pappy had 180 this week, and it's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I had Ryan Pappenhausen last year, and for almost half the season, and I doubt he got over 60 points, and so I went never again.
Yeah.
And this year he's probably the highest scoring player in the whole competition.
Yeah. Well, May and Haas have got him covered only because they don't score less than 100, but that 180 is the highest score I think this season. But when you scroll down, if you circle all of those massive anomalies, the 180s, the 150s, it's Drinkwater every week who's scoring 117, 112, 110. I think he's now like $900 and something thousand. So I am looking at my team. Yeah, 906. I don't think I can get him in. I just think he might be a little bit too expensive for me. I'm in the same situation as you where I thought my team was sweet. I've actually slid back a couple of thousand spots in the overall thing. I only made one trade last week and I brought in Fletcher Sharp, who went all right.
Yep.
But I feel like this is one of those seasons. There'll be a lot of people listening to this podcast. In fact, there's two of them on this podcast right now who are like, my team's really good. Why am I losing and going backwards every week? I'm scoring fucking 1,500 and then falling back 2,000 spots. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. I think my issue is that I choose what I think would be a good rugby league side on the paddock.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't necessarily choose a good SuperCoach side. So, for example, my number 7 is Isaiah Katoa from the Dolphins, who is probably the hottest number 7 in the competition at the moment. But he still only, gets 40 to 60 SuperCoach points every week.
Yeah,
so
you wouldn't want to come across him if you line up against the Hurleys. I know exactly what you mean, man. Like some of your favourite players just aren't fantasy relevant, and you're like,
no.
And even players who have monster games, like even Chance, he has these giant statistical games, and then on SuperCoach, it's like, yeah, he's okay, but he's not putting up 180 sort of situations.
Yeah, so I've discovered something recently in that what you want to buy, I reckon, is the best player in a shit team. So last year I had Stefano Utuikamanu from the Tigers, and he was fantastic every week. Then he moves to the Storm. He plays way fewer minutes because he's in the Storm now, and he just nowhere near scores the points that he did last year when he was easily the best player in the Tigers team.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That can sometimes hurt you though, because if the team sucks ass and they're not scoring points, then that can work against you. Case in point, Kalen Ponga this year, who I know he turned up last week, but I've been stuck with him this whole season because he's hemorrhaged like $500,000 and I just now can't afford to trade him out. I think I haven't done my trades for this week yet. I won last week just purely on captaincy. I captained Pappenhausen.
Amazing.
My tip for captains this season is just set and forget on Haas or Terrell May, or if you're feeling a bit spicy, go tiger hunting. Go tiger hunting. Go Titans hunting.
I think my favourite SuperCoach win of the season though was against you, where I captained Ruben Garrett, which I actually think was a slip of the finger, and I didn't mean to, but then I just kept it, and that was easily the best mistake I've ever made.
I believe, from memory, he scored 136 points that day because I remember it very clearly. We talked about Latrell before. He scored, I think, 80 odd, but interestingly, he has been hemorrhaging cash and he's somewhere around the $560,000 mark. Now, there was a bit of talk earlier this season. Are they going to let him play? Because remember he was playing 5'8" for a couple of games?
Yeah, so he scored no points at number 6.
No, and they won't give him 5'8" eligibility, I don't think. But He is at 586k and he scored 84 points on the weekend and looked gangster doing it. I don't know. I'm sort of looking at bringing him in this week if I can. That's probably my only pickup. And then the drops, if you still got Marju, drop him. We're starting to get to the point of the season where you need to start thinking about Origin, buy rounds, all that shit.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it.
There's a couple of positions, and this won't be a revelation to anyone who plays it, but positions like hooker and 5/8, they're not big scoring positions. So if you can get someone who consistently gets you 50, 60 points in there, then hold on to them like grim death. So Wade Egan, for example, he's got to be one of the highest scoring hookers in the competition, and I've had him all year. Oh. And just to circle back to Warriors chat, he is having a huge year.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't play Origin, there's something wrong.
Nah, well, yeah. The Origin one, I've seen, all the Aussie pundits are firing up at the moment, naming their Origin teams. I think more people than not have Mitch Barnett in there. But I think unfortunately for Wade, there's a few other hookers that are from New South Wales that, I don't know, and also because he plies his trade in New Zealand, I don't think it...
it doesn't help, does it?
Doesn't help him, but he is good enough. He should be in there. You are inspired for having him this whole season. I didn't play a hooker this week because I had Mamazelis and Sandon Smith who were both out. So I just took the 17th man. You got the flex position this week, so I managed to get away with it. But yeah, hooker's a fucking wasteland at the moment. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule for this weekend. Pick captain whoever's playing against the Tigers unless they got the bye. Otherwise,
all the I was going to say all the Titans, although they won last week, unbelievably.
Yeah, but all the Eels would be the other one.
All the Eels, yeah.
Go hunting in those waters, and it won't be too bad. Did you see, just before we knock this thing on the head, did you see Jerome Luai's dad posting on his Instagram story after their loss? So they got blown off the park 64-0 by the Melbourne Storm. Happens to the best of them. But they and apparently Luai's got this clause in his contract. He's got a get out clause. I don't know what has to happen for him to get out. But after the whole Galvin thing blew over, and then everyone was talking to him like, "Do you want to get out of the club now?" He's like, "No, I'm sticking around." Then his dad puts up on his Instagram story after the blowout, activate the get out clause. Just chuck
really?
Yeah, put that up on his Instagram story.
I wonder if the get out clause is losing by 60 points.
And that's just been activated automatically. He wasn't asking for it. He's letting everyone know it's been triggered. Yeah, so I don't know.
Who would take? I don't know. I mean, I think Jerome Luai actually went up in my estimation with the Lockie Galvin thing. At least he's got loyalty to someone.
Yeah, I know. But I was just like, when the Galvin thing was happening, I saw a lot of people zigging on their take where they were like, I actually think this is going to bring them together and they're going to play way better. And I was like, they have hardly built a team of high character, high value dudes in that changing room. You know what I mean? But they're not turning around. So anyway, yeah, that's why I reckon go and chase yourself some Tigers. Someone will message me after this and be like, they've got the bye this week. Look, man, I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule. But if they do, then I don't know. Titans, Eels. All right. Anything else before we knock this thing on the head, Hurley?
No, Dolphins this weekend. Interesting game. One we should win, but they can score long-range points, can those Dolphins, and we are away. Yeah,
we have done a good job of shutting guys like the Hammer down. Drinkwater, Pong a bit. We've played the Knights, but I just mean...
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We played a Magic Round,
Yeah. I watched that game.
You were literally there.
No, that was the Cowboys. But
it was too.
We do a good job of shutting those sort of superstar players down this season. So I think we can do that against the Hammer.
Yeah, I mean, he's not having a great season, but
not on the field. Yeah. But if you pay attention to some of the work he's doing off the field, it is some of the best, and I would encourage you to do your own research into that. All right, let's knock this thing on the head before we get cancelled, and we'll be back next week for another episode of the Mad Monday podcast.
Without rugby league is not Australia.